welcome back to Bunko Gaming. This is Matt. So today I wanted to talk about weapon balance and the balancing of weapons within multiplayer first-person shooter games. I mean, as people, we naturally gravitate to the things that are easy to use, require the least amount of efforts, and we probably see this more in first-person shooting games where people gravitate to the weapons that kill the fastest or allow us to kill from a greater distance without endangering ourselves. And at the best of times, weapon balance can be a very challenging situation because even the slightest changes of buffing or nerfing a weapon can make an entire class of weapon redundant or overpowered. I saw this happen recently within Destiny because I've been playing a bit of that, where they nerfed the auto rifles, and what has occurred is it's made the entire class of weapon completely irrelevant, and people aren't using them. So this slight change has had such a great effect on the actual class of weapon. From the PvP side of things, just using Destiny as an example again, the hand cannons are the top weapons used within the game at the moment, at present. The weapon Thorn within the game, which is a hand cannon, allows you to two-shot people across the map. This gun can actually outsnipe sniper rifles themselves, and it also has another added effect of a damage over time effect, which can at times guarantee that you get this kill. But this has created this situation where this has become the dominant weapon within PvP, and it's used by so many players these days that this is all you see within the game itself. So this leaves players who don't have this weapon at a disadvantage. And when you're facing an entire enemy team that is using this weapon, it requires you to use this weapon as well to be able to compete in the games. So it's become a crutch weapon as such. So this means that a great deal of weapons remain redundant, sit on the sidelines, simply because they're so outclassed by these weapons. Using Destiny as an example, at present they have several classes of weapons. They have hand cannons, auto rifles, pulse rifles, scout rifles, shotguns, sniper rifles, fusion rifles, machine guns, rocket launchers, and sidearms. So from a PvP multiplayer perspective, really only 5 of these 10 classes are used to any great degree. And the remaining 5 are either used extremely sparingly or completely neglected because they cannot compete with the other more powerful classes of weapons. This is becoming more and more common within first-person shooters to include this larger selection of weapons, attachments, and variants. But this in itself creates this imbalance with the game and the weapons itself. So let's look at some of the current FPS games like Call of Duty and Battlefield 4 that just continue to add more and more weapons to the game and give people a larger selection of weapons to choose from. But in reality, there's only very slight differences in the weapons from, say, the starter weapons in the game. So let's have a look at some of the games that did a good job with weapon balance. From my perspective, Call of Duty 4, Battlefield Bad Company 2, and more recently Titanfall. So what was the secret to this balance? I think it was quality over quantity. They didn't try to bloat the game with a huge amount of weapons. Each class of weapon had its unique advantages and disadvantages, which meant players could experiment more with weapons and setups. But this in itself creates its own problems, because players have become so used to grinding for weapons and attachments and camos that when they reduce or remove the amount of weapons that are within the games to grind through, people can lose interest in the game very, very quickly. And I think this is something that we saw within Titanfall. Because of this small selection of weapons and attachments and that, people became very bored or very lost interest in the game very quickly because of it. But it creates this interesting paradigm for the developers as well. Listening to the community is extremely important. It has to be balanced very carefully, as sometimes a small portion of the community can think of certain weapon or classes overpowered. So they will demand that it be changed or it be nerfed or buffed to give them either a better advantage over other players because they feel like they've been disadvantaged. But what can happen is it can create this issue for the larger portion of the community because of this change. But unfortunately, it's a situation where you cannot please everybody, or you're never going to please everybody, so you has to come down to that you create the balance for the majority of players. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about weapon balance and how you feel that things can be changed to make things better. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you next week. Thank you. Bye.